Hey everybody, this is TruePowerIsMine, TPIM SR Live. This is a special report short, kind of. Just reached out to Brother Thomas, and he's sharing his story with us. All right, so just pick up where you were, right where you were, Thomas.
Okay. Well, basically, I was offering a menu of topics since this is a 33-year ordeal for me and my family. I have one remaining son left alive, and product of the strategy of Hollywood for ripping off writers and also basically keeping a stranglehold on our world.
Mm.
And what I was sharing was that Michael Eisner really is the father of intellectual property ripoff. It really is Disney. And Michael Eisner put Mike Lang and Harvey Weinstein in charge of coming up with the strategies for intellectual property ripoff. And the studios are kind of like a big club out in Hollywood. They all share ideas. They all are interconnected in a theft. So they'll keep the appearance of competition, but actually they are all interconnected. And that is actually made evident by looking at redpillrising.org. If you look at our site, you'll see entries actually from the Copyright Office made aware to us, my family, where they're copyrighting my title, The Immortals, and there's no body of work with that title copyright. And you'll see actually under that different entries, you'll see the Wachowskis and De Laurentiis and Paradise Films for Assassins, their first work. And then you'll see the Immortals title after that under a new entry with De Laurentiis and Paradise Films without the Wachowskis. So what they were doing was they were copyrighting titles of works they wanted. Then they list a whole body of titles, in this case 346 other titles, and no body of work. That gives them a slot at the Copyright Office. So this is one of the meat and potatoes of their intellectual property strategy ripoff. And what they do then is if the writers are deceased or something happens to them, there's a strategy for that too. Then into the slot goes the different takes of the different studios. So if they have a take like Matrix off of The Immortals, in goes that work into that slot. Just happened I'm not dead yet. So that's the process they use. It's pretty simplistic and pretty insidious, but it is very effective because you figure that families really, if there's racketeering, there's prostitution, there's drugs, there's all kinds of trades that different organizations will utilize to make a lot of funds.
Yes.
But really, the gold mining time right now is intellectual property, and that's also considered the real power in our world to influence people. So, and they're all about power. So if you want to get a lot of money and you're a studio, really your target should be, in their mind, families that have work that's worth their salt, writers that have a gift. Then you simply wipe out that family, you get your slot at the Copyright Office with your insider, and then into that title slot goes your take. And that's why there's 346 other titles attached to that title of yours without any body of work, because then you're supposed to pick from that menu of titles, and then in goes that take under that title, and dates as such in that slot. That's really how they did it for how they utilized the theft. And then it's just a matter of getting rid of the writers. Now, in Hollywood, to destroy, they say they want to destroy you. I have tapes of contacts from Disney and other attorneys that contact me. And part of the strategy also is to inform you of what's going on, answer your questions, because they don't think anyone's going to believe you. And the more you talk in the initial stages, you'll look crazy. So that's part of the strategy. Lock you away under a 302 or some kind of mentally ill strategy label, and then takes care of the problem too. If not, then you watch your family destroyed. So I had 3 sons, 2 are murdered, and they inform me they're murdered. And I have 1 son left. I have a tape where a contact is actually telling me, I have it on tape, they're saying, they know you're concerned for your last son's safety. Now that is part of the strategy to keep you from going forward and talking, right?
Right.
Where they goofed up is they're counting on writers then to either take their lives or set up a scenario where it looks like they would take their lives. So we go farther. It's very thought out. They use family members, which are paid off, and I have examples in my family, that cut you off and then are there to push the idea that you're somewhat crazy, deranged, whatever. Upon your death, they will be on the news saying, oh, he was crazy or she was crazy, just like Gray State. And therefore, if you do not take your life out of despair, they'll do it for you and say, well, they did take their life out of despair, and here's a family member to testify they're that condition.
Wow.
Now, in my case, I'm a problem for them because I'm articulate. I'm actually tested as gifted genius, one of the top percent. So it's like I'm difficult for them, and I'm actually labeled difficult, is what they say. And now they're actually saying we've won the chess game, but not with a great attrition and great loss. What they count on, too, is that it destroy you means that you watch your sons die one by one. That's supposed to create that despair they're looking for to elicit. Then your women are taken to bed. Mike Lang, Harvey Weinstein's boss, we have an email from. Now, an email is to my former wife. The email says, Becca, her name, move in with me for 60 days, question mark. It shows the Spokane property. Spokane, Washington is called the Playground of Hollywood. There's the property, the multi-million-dollar mistress pad. Also, a picture follows it with a bed and a shaving kit on it. Mike Lang Z at Zion offering his bed. The response from the wife is very nice, smiling, blushing icon face, and she leaves my son on my birthday. Keep in mind they use holidays and birthdays as a way to really elicit that despair. What they don't count on is that writers who are actually worth their salt and actually write out of empathy, compassion, and as a service to humanity. That's why I'm actually going to give my copyright over to all people on this planet. Once we win our suit, which we haven't had our day in court yet, that was all staged before. We never had our day in court. We will. Once our evidence is there, I'm giving my copyright over to every man, woman, and child on this planet. And that debunks the Hollywood system. They can all do their take on it as was intended. Each person's supposed to have their own take on my work. So they will all ruin the Matrix. But the strategy is supposed to use great despair. You take your own life, or they take it for you. Into the slot goes your piece, into the names that they have, and it's over.
Just in there.
Now, if you look at the Wachowskis, what happened was they actually claim in articles that in '95 they washed up as writers. They had to pack their bags, quote, and leave Hollywood. Now, that's interesting for those that were going to claim Matrix story after that, right? A successful franchise. But they do say that. They can be looked in articles. The reason is because during Assassin, they failed as writers, as they said. Other writers had to be brought in by Warner Brothers Suits to finish the work. It was so badly done by the Wachowskis. We're into violence, sex, things like that. No real storyline. So when you look at my piece, The Immortals, they were crying out in articles that they wanted the science project. There was no name on my work because whoever was given it, which they were in 95, 96 to take, would draw from those list of titles, again, from the Copyright Office, the 346 pieces, right? Well, the Wachowskis are mavericks. They didn't pick one of those titles. They picked their own Matrix. So that's why it only shows up in 96. Right now, there's a big battle with the attorneys because they're counting on us coming forward. They know it. That's why Bob Iger just fell and Spielberg just got caught with an article. Because in interviews, I'm revealing this about Spielberg. Then he's revealed. Bob Iger. Then he's revealed. Because in Hollywood, they're claiming that this is it. You survived the gauntlet.
Wow.
What they didn't count on was that fathers, when they're in this situation of despair, losing their sons' lives, we're not going to take our lives. We're going to dedicate our work and lives so that other families don't go through it. We're going to lift our sons and honor them by finishing the job. That's what they didn't count on, empathy and compassion. They believe in the laws of nature, that all of us will prey upon the weak and feed it. That wife I mentioned, Rebecca Northcutt, she was provided, just like Total Recall, and all this can be checked on. What happens is she's provided by the attorney for Warner Brothers is going to throw our case. So here comes this woman pretending to be a pristine, angelic person, looking like a person I would be attracted to, right? Rebecca Northcutt. Turns out she has a criminal record for prostitution from Modesto, California, had been in jail. That's what they do. Just like Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones, they write their tactics into their own arc. You'll see it there. And what happens is they provide her. She leaves me on my birthday after the case is thrown, after they get access to evidence and everything they want her to do and steer. My son happened to be born. She says he's not supposed to be born. She leaves for Mike Lang. And what the problem was we were never supposed to see those emails. Now those emails are in our possession. Mike Lang's let it trail right back to head of Disney, Eisner, it's back to Spielberg, Joel Silver, all of them. So he broke the rule of the Hollywood cartel. So one of the people you're going to see next, probably hung or dead, is Mike Lang.
Wow.
So, and we're just calling it as it goes. So we announced, Spielberg's going to be revealed. He did. He was. We announced that Bob Iger we actually on our phone had a message from his assistant from Disney, Bob Iger, wanting to make a deal. Next thing he cleans out, and the next day an article says the lower echelon pedophiles of Disney, and you can check this online, were removed from Disney, right? But not the upper and middle management. It's another smoke screen. So the uppers keep their little games going with those poor children, and just the lower echelons are cleared. That's a big step for them. But then the next day, Bob Iger calls off the visit, and my Hollywood contacts call me from Disney. Next thing, Bob Iger's out of the job. So they're looking at us now as the real gold mine. Apparently now we've made it through the gauntlet, and they call it a game, the chess game. They say you've won. They say it's all about power. And I tell them back, it's not a game. Not a game when you're losing your son's lives and you're trying to make a difference in the world that's being ripped away from you. I've been punished for my art, and I'm mocked for my art. But now, finally, after all these years, it's like running a race. You're coming to the final stretch, and there's people with good hearts all along the way cheering you on. And what my intention was, I'm sorry about the emotion, my intention was to write a piece, leaving a lot of the backstory out, with all these new ideas, since they said in Hollywood everything's been done under the sun, create a work that had all new ideas, visuals that had never been seen before. So to steal at the Wachowskis list all the images they thought were cool, Jack's the Neck, Squiddies, Little Girl at the Train Station, liquid mirrors, which are actually security devices at the train station in mine, was you take the red pill you can pass through, identical figures at the end, on and on it goes. And so they lifted the images they thought were cool and made a 600-page storyboard. People can check that online in the articles. And then the attorney said that my script was in hand with a visual storyboard. That's why there was the big argument on set at the end of The Matrix of how to finish it. You have a whole set of people, Wachowskis say in articles, can be checked again by fans or people who follow, that they were saying, everybody said, blow up The Matrix. Well, if it was a complete script, they wouldn't be talking about it. They'd just be following the script. Right. But since it was not, it was my script in hand, where they thought they could monkey it and jury rig it to finish it with a 600-page storyboard. Incidentally, Matt Damon was shown that in Elysium, another ripoff of my work after the case was thrown. They did Elysium, Oblivion, and Sense8. Each of the defendants took their take on it. Warner Brothers, Joe Silver, and the Wachowskis. They each took their take because I was finished, and Becca leaves. But so they took the spine right out of my story, basically, with Matrix. They took it right out. They unraveled the story. No one can make sense of what the Matrix means unless you put it back the way it was. Fortunately, I did survive. My last son did survive. And now people can look at the work and actually see how it falls together. And we're saying reverse engineer it. Look at the way the Wachowskis did it. Work it backwards. Look at all the similarities that were lifted. There's 190, including all the things I just talked about. If you look at it that way and then look at the original work, sure, you won't see the exact story, but you'll see how it all tied together in the original work, The Immortals. So what the Wachowskis did, they didn't just take the titles, go away from the titles and take their own title, Matrix. They should have picked one of the 346, then they'd have their slot to slide into when I'm dead. Instead, they picked their own, but they also went further. If you go to redpillrising.org, you're going to see a first graphic there under my son's tribute. You'll see the sunset, the red pill. You scroll down, you'll see the father's story, a tribute my son, 13, made, which you're trying to say he shouldn't have credit for. Actually, he made it all himself. And then you go below that, you'll see the first graphic. That's the first graphic in the Matrix, an interrogation scene. You'll see my high school, Central West High. You're going to see my birthday as it was in 1996 records, July 22nd. You're also going to see my name, Thomas A., as Neo's. You're going to see my dad's name, John A., as Neo's dad. Also, you're going to see Michelle McGahee, the art director, listed as Neo's mom. And you're also going to see Owen Patterson as the other school. That's the production manager. Keep in mind, and it's also on record, I think I have it showing, the Wachowskis, in the only testimony we gave when they were throwing our case, they did want to cover something that graphic. They don't deny it. They don't deny it's my name, my high school, my birthday, and Michelle McGahee, Owen Patterson there, my dad's name. What they do say is that Owen Patterson and Michelle McGahee are at fault for putting it there. Well, that's not a denial. That's actually confirmation.
True.
So all these things I have and more, but I hope that gives at least a start for you. We have the evidence, and that's why it's been such an extent, resources, money, attorneys, corruption, judges paid off in my case. And incidentally, the Sophia Stewart that's been surfacing, she calls me, and I taped her many times when she called. She calls my home a lot. She mocks me for the death of my sons. She has a plant from USC put there to be the first claim. Their strategy also includes people who are drawn from USC, usually, like the lady who's now directing Oliver Carbon, which is our work also. They pull these people out of USC, and they make them first claimants. That way the people think, well, these people claimed it first, can't be right. First claim, first believe. But the thing is, the authors that are actually stolen from were clueless until we're actually made aware, especially when entries such as my high school, my birthday, and all that. I didn't know that. I would never know it. It's in for a split second upside down. You can see that shot on redpillrising.org. I would never have known if somebody from the inside had not informed me and had the guts to call me and tell me from the story department that it was there. Yeah.
Diving into the origins of the story itself. I mean, watching The Matrix as a young man, because, I was a fan of all the films, actually. The thing I found exciting about it, it was one of the only sci-fi films of the time that did not include aliens. It was all human. We did it ourselves.
Well said. Yes, well said. Because they tried to cite in their court case they were throwing, they provided their own attorneys to throw it, so we didn't have our day in court. And in fact, they're claiming that one of the similarities that in all sci-fi films is aliens, but I didn't put aliens in. I didn't. I wanted to make it specifically about humanity,
Yes.
and how the only way we're going to have a chance to evolve is if we all come together. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it. That every life will matter. All race, all faiths, all walks,
Right.
every age.
And that
And
message
that's part of the
there
story.
is such a devastating message to the power control structure as it sits. They
Yes, it
do
is.
not and they cannot allow us to become unified humanity. They cannot.
No, and they can't have a work that draws the people together. And the full intention of my work, The Immortals, our work, I'll call it, our work, The Immortals, because it's yours too. It's everyone's. And that is supposed to draw people together. The backstory is left out on purpose. I did that on purpose so that each person will fill in their own personal experiences to complete the equation. And that way it becomes their own personal work. And that way also they'll have questions they'll turn to their neighbors to and ask, and that brings humanity together. Now, the Wachowskis, during the theft claim, it was intended to bring humanity together, but they don't explain how. They don't explain why. In fact, they say the little girl at the train station is just a subplot. No, the little girl's integral to a satisfying ending. When she points to the sun, there's a final line she says, and that's where the audience goes, oh, now I get it, instead of being one of the worst 11 sequels of all time, because they unraveled the story and didn't know how to end it with my script in hand, or our script in hand, and that visual storyboard. It didn't work.
Oh my God.
And so instead of blowing up the Matrix like they should have done by ripping the spine out of the work, you should have blown it up, Wachowskis. Instead, they kept my exact ending. Little girl at the train station, identical figures facing off. Palms bleed, the guy looks up. Into the crater goes the one, out comes the pulse wave, greening the earth. Little girl at the train station renews life. Hugs Neo and points to the sun. That's what it's supposed to be. The relationship that he destroyed and took out was the relationship between Neo and his daughter, Brittany. They changed Lasati. You have to have that relationship back. So now when they're stealing Matrix 4, they think I'm finished, they're putting back the family aspect.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much spiritual overtones in the
Yeah.
Matrix story. You know, why was that
Intentional.
essential? Why was that essential to put in there? Because I think that actually drew a lot of people out of organized religion institutions.
Right. Well, first of all, here's my take. I'll give you one thing. I celebrate everyone's ability to have faith and to believe. I do not celebrate anyone's religion. And I hold to it. I'm getting calls from different religious leaders and different people now who are, of course, naturally they're going to push their agenda and their belief system. And I'll tell them, I'll say right out and say, look, save your breath, save your time. I will celebrate your faith and your passion, but I will not celebrate your religion. Because once I do, I shut myself off from the rest of the world. So I leave an empty platter with no construct on it. And that way everybody feels okay to come to me, and I get to point them to each other. That's what I want to do. Because we may not even know what really is there yet. And so why limit ourselves by saying, I am going to hold to this religion? Well, we don't really know. And so, yes, faith, religion is very much a part of this thing, or faith is. And that's because of where the genesis of it is. Where does it come from? Where does the Matrix story actually come from? My experience with the religious right, Pat Robertson, being groomed to be the face of the Christian coalition, and what I experienced his plans were for the world. That's why your ending sequence suddenly comes alive, what it fits for. The agents come from a security force that had the sunglasses, were very arrogant, earpieces and all that. That's where they came from. So it's like Shakespeare in Love. Yes, it's images I saw. Well, if you're a good writer and you're writing your door-opening piece, you draw from what you know and what you experience. That's how you get your best work to start out with. That's how you kickstart your door opener, and that's what I did. So yes, those images all come from something. The Wachowskis have no idea what it's for. Germany meant a lot to me. What happened in World War II to all sides, all sides. And therefore, what does the little girl at the train station represent? Why is their family pushing her forward? The Wachowskis don't know. They say it's just a subplot. That represents kinder transport in my heart. I still get teary. I still get affected right now. Kinder transports when the families... Sorry, it's hard for me because I lost two sons. It represents a cry out to people that during that time in World War II, the families had a night to put their kids on trains and never see them again. That's why that scene is very important with a little girl, and the Wachowskis screwed it all up and made it into crap. And they claim it's just a subplot. No, it's essential. It's essential for our world to ponder and think on.
Yes.
What if we were those families? So I hope we do make the original film the way it's copyrighted. There's no copyright on the Matrix. That's why you have clothing and cars, Matrix, because they didn't draw up the 346 titles that you'll see on redpillrising.org. So we're looking for the critical thinkers. We're looking for the people who actually don't talk about, oh, his hair looks bad, or obviously he must be on drugs. No, I'm not. But the thing is, we're actually looking for critical thinkers that take a look at the evidence. That's where we separate from the herd. That's how we galvanize. That's how we come together. And that's how we solve this problem of Hollywood. And now they're falling like rats one by one.
My God. You know, you keep bringing the little girl up, and they literally turned her into a MacGuffin. They literally turned this pivotal person into a MacGuffin, just a plot device just to push the story along to this little climactic, conclusion.
You're right.
And
they stripped the scene. They stripped the power of the scene.
Yeah.
Do you know what that scene was supposed to be? It was supposed to be a crowded train terminal, crowded with people screaming to take your kids, take my child, thinking they're going to have a better life in that program, which is actually a hellish program where they'll be abused and used. But the thing is, they're thinking this is our only chance for our child. It's kinder transport. And so what is with kinder transport on steroids? Because now you got all these people screaming and screaming. You know why they sterilized it down to one static family? To save on the budget. Because the Wachowskis came to the suits and said, we can get that under your budget.
Wow.
That was why they were giving it. So they stripped the scenes down.
Well, they stole the whole story for money.
Family.
Let's just be honest. They stole the whole damn story, the whole bloody
everything
lot for money.
Just think that was supposed to stop wars. I mean, that's a bold claim, but yes, it was. It was supposed to think, did the Matrix affect people? Did it cause them to stand up and think a different way?
Yes.
That was intended. But now that's the lifted version. That's the images stolen with the spine ripped out. Think of the spine back in, right? With the images making sense. With the critical thinkers out there, they've been debating what it means, but they can't put it back together unless they have the original work, which is copyrighted and precedes the Matrix.
I have none.
Stand up.
Then think what happened.
This is so funny that you mentioned Germany. We are quite literally talking about propaganda. This film has been propagandized for the wrong cause.
It was literally just
for
in
monetary
absolutely.
benefit instead of humanity awakening.
Well,
You searched
Put them to sleep.
I literally haven't.
That's exactly what happened, and it's been cleansed and sterilized from the real message because I actually reveal certain characters in the original work. It's been revealed, and it predates. I have the script right in front of me that was on set, the copy that was used, and there it all is, predating the Matrix. And Wachowski screamed and wanted it so bad, and then they were mavericks. Think of it. They blew it with Warner Brothers. So who else could go down at some point? They may just take them out at some point too, because they didn't pick one of the titles that you'll see on redpillrising.org. There's 346 of them, because certainly have taken one, but they're so arrogant they went off page. And then that was a problem for Warner Brothers. They just didn't copyright it at all. And then what happens is they end up putting all that information in the Matrix, high school, birthday, dad's name, my name. Come on, guys. And Anderson is my Scottish clan name. How far do you want to go? And then look at the column. It says TA, if you look at the graphic, TA 4099. Yeah, TA was 4099. Larry has a fixation with my age. He thinks that puts me down or something.
Wow.
Age is nothing. We're all babies. We die babies. We hardly have any time at all. We have a speck of spark of life on this earth.
Correct.
Who cares about age? Who cares about age? And then what happens is, what do they do on the clock face in the Animatrix? If you go to that page and go to the clock face, what's on the clock face? What's filling the screen? I wrote because I thought audiences are intelligent. I'm adapting that. I'm saying some people are intelligent. Because it's right there in front of their faces on the clock face, filling the screen. And most clocks show 10 out of 10, smiling hands. What does mine show? Or their show? In the Animatrix, they have 7, 2, wonderful to 6059. 7, 259, that's my exact birthday. It's not a coincidence. There's no way it could be coincidence. That's an exact birthday. The Copyright Office Clearance Department was supposed to clear that. And then the 4 and the 4 and the red hand is 4 past the 4 is 44 in 2003. Just like they put in the graphic, the interrogation scene, TA 4099. Yeah, you're right.
And it could be by her.
And then they have 380. And this is the real chilling part. 380. What is 380? Now, the Wachowskis are very into numerology. They like to brag about that. They want to be clever. They want to be important. They want to be, impressive. That's really what drives them. Not about creating great art. And so, what is the graphic meaning of 380 after TA 4099? You ready? Here's the quote: "To let go of the worldly things and possessions you hold close to your heart. To let go of the worldly things and possessions you hold close to your heart to prepare for your death." They just took from the writer everything he held dear. Everything to unite his family again after all the horror he had been through with the Robertsons organization. And so they're saying, I'm going to have to let go of my most closest things that are to my heart, prepare for my death, as they steal my script to do just that. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Yes.
They didn't think we'd figure it out. They didn't figure we'd follow the breadcrumbs. They didn't think, if I'm smart enough to write the Matrix story, I'm smart enough to follow the stupid trail of these morons in Hollywood.
But is that because they're basically puppets of, for lack of better words, Satan? There is a spiritual
puppets of Satan
element.
and their own greed, right?
I mean, think about what
and you know
you
what's
said.
really amazing? They think they're in charge of Satan. They think they control Satan in their minds. They don't want to be subject to anything or have anything have a dominion of them. They want to have dominion over everything else.
Correct.
So in their minds, they actually think they control that element.
Isn't that the quintessential definition of self-delusion? For one to believe.
Self-delusion and narcissism on steroids.
Oh gosh, yes. But when we're talking about people being injured, people being psychologically harmed, physically abused and accosted, now we're into a different territory. Now you're taking.
We are, and yeah.
Go ahead.
The worst offenders in all this. The worst offenders are the ones that I call the minions. Just for a lack of a better term, the minions. Those that you'll see getting on sites and saying, he's on drugs. Those that get on the site and say, oh, he didn't do it. Those are the people that tug at the ankles. And they're the ones that help try to slow down the truth being brought forward, healing in our world, pedophiles jailed, having a new way established. Those people will be remembered later for being
traitors.
The minions.
They're traitors to humanity.
Traitors.
They're traitors to humanity. That's who they are.
Yes. They need to shut up and go back in their little holes. Because let the people who actually have the minds and the critical thinking, like yourself and others that actually get together and try to make a difference, lead the way to a better world.
I definitely...
Your art.
I definitely feel for you. The emotions from this video, from this conference, this interview, is overwhelming. The pain and sorrow. And it's not just because I've personally been going through stuff myself, but it almost seems since they kicked on CERN, everything has been kicked up a bunch. These people actually took away your babies.
They took away my babies. They provided their own mother for my son. My wife was a convict. She'd been in jail, but came across like she was pristine. Mike Lang's product, and right back to Mike Lang she goes after she throws our case. That's how insidious they get. That's how thought out this is. The more you're worth, the more financing and personnel they'll apply to you. The more corrupt judges. And if you look at our case, that's a big talking point now is, he lost his case, and they'll cite this thing with the New York Times or something. He lost his case. We never had our day in court. In fact, the stenographer and the court reporter when I give my deposition before nothing ever happened, but I have to give my deposition. We didn't get any of theirs because their attorney provided wouldn't allow it. So they didn't do anything. So in it, it's like the court reporter and the stenographer at break say, "Oh my God, this is fascinating. It's an honor to meet you." That's indicative how a jury would rule. Is there a matchup? The judge ruled there's no matchup. Well, that's a Robertson appointed judge, right, from Law and Justice Center to rule on conservative decisions. So of course he's going to say no matchups, but he says it's not worth going into. There's 190. Jackson Neck are not a matchup. Squiddy's not a matchup. Smith agents are not a matchup. Identical figures at the end is not a matchup. Pulse wave, little girl pointing the sun is not a matchup. It's just incredible that they were able to pull that off. And then you got, again, these minions that'll go, he lost his case, get over it. No, we never had our day in court yet, but we will. And the other thing is, during that deposition, there was 2 identical tape recorders. I want to share this with you. The one attorney that was provided, this Rankin, right, who was the landlord of this wife that was provided. So you can see the deal being made before she approaches me. And here they both come, right? And so he has a tape recorder, and I have a tape recorder that match. He says, don't record anything. I said, okay, fine. Takes mine, pockets it, turns his on. He gave me the wrong tape recorder at the end. So he gives me his tape recorder, and on it says Warner Brothers attorneys are saying on that tape after deposition, it's a moot point to ask for any disclosures. They didn't give disclosures. That's fraud, no due process, right? So the case is going to happen. It's a moot point to ask for any disclosures because we don't have any working drafts or source material whatsoever. Time out. So you made the Matrix without any source or working drafts? It goes right to the fact they had my script in hand, as their attorney said, and they had the storyboard. And that's why the argument ensued about how to blow up the Matrix or what to do with it. Wachowski stubbornly stuck to because they thought it'd look more clever if they used my ending. They didn't understand my work, and that was made clear to me by the man who called and told me where the graphics were, upside down for the split second that is on red pill rising in front of you if you see it. So what's really amazing is it's all coming back on them. That's why they're racing Matrix 4 to the finish right now, because they want to get the money and the credit for it before we put an injunction on them, or we get attorneys forward that can actually take them down. That's why they're racing right now.
This is, you would think that this is like an odd thing. This is, this is a one shot, one miss. But this is not. I'm really, the more people I talk to about Hollywood and the way it truly operates, the more twisted and debased it is coming to be.
And the more absurd it is. What they've done is they've gone, the more you last, right? Like my family lasted. I have one son left. And why is he alive? Because, like I said, they said that we know you're concerned for his safety. So it was a leverage card. His life is a leverage card. But he said, if you look at that tribute on Red Pill Rising, he made that tribute. Watch that. Watch how he capsulized as a 13-year-old high honor student. He capsulized the whole emotion and feeling that I could never articulate in 20 years. He captured it. So watch that tribute if you get a chance. I invite you to. It's 2 minutes long. It's amazing. And look at what he endured. And out from the mouth of a child comes it. But he's the one that really articulated it, and that's when the Spielberg Insider turned back to us and gave us what we needed just now to reveal all the stuff we're talking about, the inside copyrights that they all put. Wachowski's, Joel Silver, Spielberg, Disney, all have takes on the Immortals. And you have to put a specific search word to find them. They were buried in the Copyright Office. But it's all my title, no body of work, slots all waiting still to insert the work once I'm dead, each person's take on it under one of those titles. Incredible.
Now, going back to why the directors choose their own title for the movie, could it be part of a strategy to ensure that their copyright rights and privileges remains?
Well, we're talking about work that's being stolen. Let me know if I'm answering your question, if I got it right.
Okay.
We're talking about creating titles, a body of titles, no body of work, so that when you're given my script, and keep in mind that the final entry you'll see on Red Pill Rising is claiming that the work is created no longer by Dean Laurentiis or Paradise Films when it's initially entered, but by the two biggest investment firms in Hollywood, in fact, in our world. When do investment firms create intellectual property?
Who are these investment firms? What are their names?
Yeah. Let me get it right here. While I'm looking it up, I'll tell you too.
Okay.
Hold on.
Because we got to follow the money, folks. Where the money's at, that is where.
Yeah. So I'm going to read it off to you. Let's get the. Where'd they go? Here we go. Wait. Where'd they go? Okay, I'm going to guess, it's like Netherland Bank of Nevada, and the other one, I got to find it, though. Netherland Bank of Nevada, and the other one's just like that.
Netherland Bank of Nevada.
Yeah. Where'd it go? Okay, what happened to my entries? Hold on. Usually I'm not this disorganized.
Well, I'm the opposite of that. I'm always.
Oh, here it is. I got it for you. It's right here. Here you go. Here's the name. It's on that site, too, Red Pill Rising, but here you go. Okay. Oh, General Bank, Netherland, Nevada. Credit Linus Bank, Netherland, Nevada. Alpha Library Company, Incorporated. So these are investment firms, the big ones, that are claiming they created intellectual property, specifically the Immortals, my title, with 347 other titles, 346 plus Army of Darkness, which is what Hitler's, Germany's army was called. And so they've got all that there, no body of work, and that is the 1996 entry in July when I resubmitted to Warner Brothers a third time with the corrections made, some corrections on the battle sequences. So isn't that something? So why is that done? Because then the investment firms, anybody they give it to, they make money by giving it out. Anybody feels comfortable taking it and stealing it because the investment firms claim they created it. There's your vicious wheel.
Wow.
And the writers are left out and their families are killed. And those slots are waiting for them. So any one of those 346 titles, I'm hoping to answer your question now.
Yes.
So they pick, let's say you pick Army of Darkness, right, for the Immortals. So you do your take on my work, and you call it the Army of Darkness. Now you simply put it in one of those slots that has your name on it, and you have the Army of Darkness copyrighted, post-dated at that time.
Gotcha.
Predated at that time. That's how it's done. See? Wachowski didn't do that. They were so audacious. They didn't pick one of those 347 titles. They picked their own. They're always about being clever. And incidentally, take a look at the interview, still online, I believe, of Wachowski's with Bound. Take a look and see how they sound. Listen to them. Listen to them talking, explaining Bound, and see if they could write anything at all. So everything they've done is from the work, the Immortals, different takes on it. And Joel Silver says at 2003 on set, he says, I hope we used up the rest of the story. What? Well, if it's all scripted out, you'd know. But no, because they were, same thing. They were always about using up the rest of the story. In the Animatrix, with that clock face with my exact birthday on it, right?
Right.
There's another graphic where they reverse the imagery, and it says Tom Park Althouse, my middle name, backwards. And that they turned a gift antique shop into an antique house, because the last part of my name, and then they put TOMPARKALT house right across the screen backwards. But the thing is they're trying to be more clever than the author, because people will say, well, why would they do that? Well, because they're trying to be more clever, and how would I ever know? I'm never going to see it or recognize it, and no one else is going to do that on my behalf unless they're an insider telling me exactly where to look and why.
No, but do you think there's some sort of spiritual component to it? I mean, is this almost
yes,
like a
there's definitely
spiritual
ritual.
gang?
Definitely ritual involved. We know that. Yes. And that was just demonstrated a couple days ago at our house.
How?
Because we had a unique situation happen. Well, I have a picture of the one thing. What I did to beat Mike Lang's strategy to try to beat it and keep my son alive is, instead of me holding the copyright solely, which means, the strategy is made clear by contacts. You die, into the slot, your stuff goes. Okay, well then how do you beat that? You share your copyright. So I picked 3 other really sweet artistic families that weren't doing so well, and I shared my copyright with them. Now Mike Lang's got a problem. He doesn't have to kill Tom Althouse. He has all these other people that claim now, because I shared it. Wow. And now he's going to have a bigger problem because they're going to share with the whole world. So they each can do their own take on it, and as it was intended for everybody to have their own take on it, and they'd be right. Whatever you do, if your take is right. So what happened? So after I got these calls, and I recorded these calls that came in from the contacts, I recorded contacts, and they said that, you've won, the game is over, it's all about power, and you've won the chess game. Okay, fine. So what shows up at our house, and what shows up at Frida Babson's house? Now, Frida Babson's one of the copyright holders with me. I put her on there, a grandmother who writes children's stories.
Okay.
Sweet enough, right? Not into money, not into power. So I chose her too, her family. So what happened to her? She was, when the Mike Lang email I told you about with Becca and the shaving kit on the bed and the multi-million-dollar property at Howard's in Spokane, Washington, right? When that email got in our possession, it was struck from all our devices. All our devices suddenly went green robot, and they erased them all. But we had it on external drive. So then we gave it to people like Frida Babson. So she goes to Europe, to England, right? And she's going to England. She's got a thumb drive with the Mike Lang emails on it, right? And she has a thumb drive for Goodwill Industries or something, like a charity thing at the same time, and a separate one to do a report with. That's why she's going to England also. So she gets there, and a dog is poisoned in their yard at the place they're staying at, the village. She goes to Gatwick Airport, and it's in the Daily Telegraph or something, the article about Frida Babson at the airport. They launched all these security after her and said that her carry-on was sprayed with bomb accelerant.
Wow.
And her thumb drive disappears. Now, what happened to Frida Babson just a couple days ago?
Where'd you put it?
A white dove and a raven. No blemish, no marks. That's why ritualistic, right? Very biblical. Are laid out in front of her doormat.
Yeah, well.
2 days in a row. A white dove and a raven. What happens at our house at the same time, thousands of miles away?
Oh my gosh.
A white dove.
This is highly unorthodox.
What does it mean? Obviously, it's laid out, and that was right after a lady took a picture of
Bend
our
over,
mailbox.
cough.
My car license plate.
Easter ain't no
So what does it mean?
Where the fuck
That means
did
you
it
That
go?
way, people know where to go. My brother's an attorney, looked it up. He said that what this apparently means in some Native American cultures is that if you have overwhelming forces taking on a small force that's should be annihilated, and they hold out and hold out and hold out, then a tribute is done, a salute is done, where you honor that foe and pull back. That's the symbolism of the raven and the white dove.
That they're basically saying that we could squash you like a bug, but the boot's not
But we
coming
can't.
down
They couldn't.
yet.
Yeah, they're saying they couldn't squash us. They tried and they couldn't. We pay you homage.
So it's a peace
So
offer.
now Bob Iger falls. Now
Found it?
Epstein's killed. It's like they're killing their middle now because the middle failed. They had a strategy against families should have been easy. They bragged about, they're going to win this
Can I
thing
get a hug?
probably
Just a
in the
hug.
conference rooms. Easy strategy. We're going to do this. You can make billions, and they failed.
See,
Now,
it
Iger's,
wasn't that difficult to say, I'm sorry.
Iger's concerned about his legacy now, right?
Look
He's
there.
trying to clean decks
Before I came
and
out
distance
here to
himself from all the
accuse
wrongdoing.
myself,
So
I'm checking
as soon as we
every
made clear in
place before
interviews
I
that
go out there and
he's
do
attached to the sex ring,
I
which
looked
connects
everywhere,
Robinson's sex
including
ring,
in the
Disney and
fucking toilet.
Religious Right are actually
But it was
connected with this
literally
stuff.
laying right there by
And
the
that,
fucking
you know,
toilet.
that
And at first
Iger
I
was
went
calling to
my
make a
mind,
deal.
How the fuck did
Iger
you do
got fired.
that? Because I'm like, I
So
literally
they're
just
cleaning their
looked
own
there.
that failed. That's why I'm
'Cause
saying
I
watch for
took
Mike Lang.
inventory. There was your
Watch for Mike
speakers
Lang to go
there,
down.
The vent and
But
everything else.
the
And I'm
thing
like,
is,
Come on.
though, Tom,
No,
the
not
root's
there.
still there. So now we're just going to be dealing with the unknown
But in
Mike
my
Eisners
defense,
of the world
when I
that will
first
come out
realized
mess
it-
with
Yeah.
someone else down the road.
Oh, you just raised something so cool. Oh my God, you just said
And
something
this
so
one, my
important.
light blue one, my one
They're
I had
so
there 'cause I lost my
involved
light
in the
blue
theft
That's
rather than the
right.
quality of the work that
Man, it
there
could
is
be by
actually
her
two
dog,
Mike
too.
Lang.
No.
Just like
No, I
Diane
moved to
Bellis.
house.
Diane Bellis was head of the
I
story
used it
department
with,
when I submitted
parking
through the
lot
attorneys. We have the
station.
submission letter, the affidavit, the
I know,
script,
because
the
my mom fucking
story
said it.
treatment, the music, everything that went in June 25th, 1993, which the provided attorney said would never be there. He sent us. We have it. So we have proof that everything went to 4000 Warnerburg Lane to Diane Bellis, head of the story department, care of Elizabeth Bonaventura's friend, Lorenzo D. Bonaventura, who I was brought to pitch to, right? Who still claims he discovered and shepherded the major story and is one of the few that understands it. Yeah, because I answered all his questions. He's the one that told us it would go in. So Bonaventura is a real crook. Wow. But the thing is that there we have, the submission completely in, and I forgot where it's going with this one. I lost my track on that one.
It's okay.
Anyway, so yeah. It's like 5 things, but yeah. If I get it again, I'll tell you. But there's a reason I was saying that. But yeah, so it's like this trail goes right to, I know what it is. So there's a Diane Bellis double. The attorneys that were for Warner Brothers and provided gave me an address for Diane Bellis, who's a Diane Bellis double. Diane Bellis has disappeared. She was replaced by Teresa Wayne. Teresa Wayne is the one that's handling the cover-up. And get this, the Warner Brothers attorneys that were used to help throw our case and never gave us a day in court and used fraud the whole way and should be going to jail very soon, those ones now work for Netflix, which is partners with Miramax Films. So they moved them over to Netflix, because Netflix is now your laundering machine, and that's where Altered Carbon's being done, Sense8, and they'll say, we got a deal right away with Netflix, the Wachowski said. And keep in mind, Altered Carbon's about the rich in the future have immortality, the poor are useless pawns. That's the very story treatment opening statement, basically, in The Immortals. And they're calling it the greatest concept since Matrix, and that it's the greatest sci-fi concept ever. And Joel Silver was the producer. And now he's just fled from that project. So after a car runs me down in Canada, I survive. They're announcing Altered Carbon at the same time. Joel Silver runs from Altered Carbon. So they're all running right now. And Bob Iger's thrown out of office because we're coming forward. As soon as we get the right attorneys, then we're going to finish this. So, yeah.
And win it. Not just you, but humanity. Thank
you. The first one to say that, yes, exactly, because it's going to be all our work, and right, we all win because we're going to bring down the whole house. That's
My
right.
God, man, you're the Benjamin
And like you
Franklin
said earlier,
of
they went so far on us. They did so much at us by murdering sons and providing wives and then taking them and taking evidence, altering everything. They went too far.
Yes.
It's like they went out in the street with clubs at you, and they're all seen.
But
so it's like they went too far.
Is, Tom, they
now
did
the
not go
wrong.
far enough because you are still standing. You were meant to break like the reed.
That's right.
In the wind.
I believe that. And I don't feel weak at all. I feel stronger than the day I was born.
Yes.
Stronger than ever.
And
I finished this in memory of my sons. I finished this for all humanity and all life. And that may sound trite to them and stupid in their laws of nature garbage and their 40 ways of power. But I'll tell you what, compassion and empathy is stronger, much stronger.
Yes.
Because we will finish the job in the memory of loved ones and for others who deserve to have their loved ones safe.
Yes.
We'll finish it.
And also, without what you just speak of, you cannot have this one word, reconciliation. To turn your enemy into your brother is the greatest victory that humanity can achieve.
Well said. And that's what's going to change. That's how humanity is going to evolve to the next level, is we're going to all do it together. We're going to help each other up that hill of life. We're going to say every life matters. No other life. All life matters. That's it. All life matters. When we come to that conclusion that we can't even conceive of doing without one, with one being left behind, with one being harmed, when we can't conceive of that, we've arrived at our next level.
And then we'll be finally fit to lead the earth and express our love for the greater cosmos. We're not fit to lead now. Could you imagine Donald Trump and his yoke taking off in a spacecraft? It's going to be beautiful. We're going to open up casinos everywhere. Oh, my God. No illegal aliens in our solar system. It's like, come on.
And look at them. They're broken. They're broken. They're already admitting defeat. They're already admitting defeat. Like I said, the real baddies in this are the minions. I call them minions. Yes. The ones that are going to make the comments and things like that. They're the ones tugging at the heels that have no real substance to them. They're causing problems. They're just troublemakers. And it's like the brown shirts in World War II Germany. Like just going around and, the thugs that were just thugs, bar thugs, going around and causing trouble. And that's what we're dealing with left. Yes, deal with. Once they're shut up, then everything's going to go forward. It's all going to go forward. It's all going to fly.
But
and we'll do it despite them. But yeah,
they're in the captain's chair, unfortunately. You know, the
they
companies
are.
that we've been talking
and they feed
about
off it.
are quite literally indoctrinating the next generation of children through their programming.
Yes.
And that's what it is,
Yes.
programming.
Yes.
All right, they're
And
indoctrinating.
it's based on greed, popularity, status, all those things. They don't mean anything. Power means nothing. What means something is the power to have compassion, the power to have empathy, the power to create. And the only way you can create great work, the reason The Immortals is as good as it is, and I will say that as the author, is because it was written as a service process.
Right.
Something for humanity to serve them, to lift them, to make a difference. It wasn't written with me going, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to have beautiful women, I'm going to have money. You can't write that way. That's a different part of your brain. But if you're writing from a service orient and you're laughing and crying and seeing these scenes come to life, and you're thinking about others getting to enjoy that and experience that, then you're going to create great art. Then you're going to create great art. You have to have the orientation that you're serving.
This is what I'm talking about. You are coming from the heart, whereas the other part, when you're about the money, you're coming from the ego. People.
That's right. Well, you know what?
Heart.
You just made me think of something. Someday, someone, get the Wachowskis and myself, maybe my son too, on a program. Let's talk about what it means. Let's talk about where it comes from. And you watch their mouths hang open in rage. They don't even have a thing they could say. But we can explain it in every detail. It's like a child. You know what their favorite food is. You know what their favorite drink is, what they like to do, what they've been sung at night, the story they like to tell. You know all about them because it's your baby. They don't know anything about the Immortals or the Matrix. They know nothing about it. And that's what the people said from the inside. They said they hate you because they don't understand your work. That's why they started doing interviews, and then they stopped. But as soon as our case was thrown in 2014, the media said they became whorehounds again for media. They want to do every media they could get because I was supposed to be destroyed at that point.
You see, this reminds me of King Solomon. You know, I played role King Solomon, and have you and those others on the other side. You know, in the matter of the Matrix, I want to rip the script up, and I'll give you half, and I'll give you half.
Yes.
And see,
oh my God, we say that. We said Solomon's baby. Yes.
And see who will give up the baby. Nope, he can have my half. I want the baby to remain intact, and that's who you know is the real father.
And that actually happened with Sophia Stewart and me. She called me right away and had her second guy, Nicholas Jackson, who's now helping me because he saw what she was trying to do to me, and that wasn't true. And so she called me, and she's saying, right when the article first broke, she's saying, okay, Tom, you're the missing link. You claim Matrix 2 and 3, I claim Matrix 1. We had it on tape, too.
You know
the first
what?
call from her, Sophia Stewart. And she's telling me that I can claim Matrix 2 and 3, but not 1. But you know what? Yes, she's a plant from USC for Warner Brothers, because the whole argument they used to throw our case was that you're not claiming Matrix 1, therefore any similarities in Matrix 1 can't be claimed in 2 and 3, therefore you have no similarities, we'll tell the public you have none. That's how they threw it. And the first things out of Sophia Stewart's mouth is, you're not going to claim Matrix 1.
Because that
so
was
there
her
you go.
word. That was her word.
That's how you throw the case. That's how you throw the case. Legally, I should have been allowed to claim Matrix 1. The provided attorney said no. The provided wife said no. Sophia Stewart's on there saying no. It was all planned. So now we can come forward with all the fraud and everything, claim Matrix 1. You got 190 growing matchups.
Wow.
Yeah. Game over.
You know, if you were interested, I don't know if you still write, but off air, you know, I don't want to bring it up now, but I want to bring it because if it happens, it would be beautiful. But I would like to run something by you, but something open source for the world. No, you know,
right.
No one person control it. Something that we all can be involved in, and it's a beautiful thought. I am so glad I reached out and made this phone call today. This has been fascinating, and for me personally, an actually uplifting interview. And I am going to, I'm recording this right now, but I'm going to midway put your boy in from the website because the video is going to be your website.
Yes. Show his work. Show his work.
I'm going to put his
My
video
God, what
in.
he did.
And this is going to be
awesome.
awesome.
Called A Father's Journey. A Father's Journey. And he just did such a great job. They're trying to take his credit away.
Well, I would love to have,
it's just like they did it.
Hopefully this will not be the last. I want to have you back on. I want to have you back on.
Let's do it. You set the time and we'll do this because it's the only way. They told me that doing interviews kept my last son alive. So you bet this father will get on the air with you.
Awesome. but we're going to do this for humanity. You know,
Yes.
I used to have a group years ago. I dropped out. I went ghost, but it was called PU, Peace and Unity. It was worldwide known. People all over the world was involved. It was really taking off.
Yeah.
I got scared about how big it was getting, so I retracted from it. But this is my calling. My calling is to be a part of that collective song that's bringing the whole human family together.
You just hit it. See, the Immortals, bless your heart, because the Immortals was written, if there's a code in the Matrix, as they say it is, which also you didn't know what it was, but there is a message in the Immortals. It was supposed to bring people together, like a beacon. It's supposed to bring people together that were critical thinkers, smart, caring, compassionate, empathetic, cross-disciplines, bring us together in the script itself it says remnant, bring the scattered together to change our world, to create a think tank, a group, a company that changes our world with cross-disciplines, compassion, intellect, ability, and heart. And that's what I'm seeing it now. I'm hearing calls from you and others that are right part of that circle. Finally, it's happening. Finally.
Because humans will ascend to the stars. Hear my words. Humans will ascend to the stars. It's a matter of what condition will we ascend. Will we be a race that is admired and appreciated by other races of the universe? Or are we going to be a race that is scorned and cursed behind our backs?
We just hit another very important topic. The Immortals talks about the one world order that's coming. That's in 92 and 93 when it's written. But yes, there will be a one world order.
Yes.
But the whole thing poised in the script itself, the real original work that he drew for the Matrix. But he didn't explain anything in the Matrix. But in the Immortals, it says, basically, we can make it a benevolent one-world society, or it's going to be an evil, insidious one-world society. But if the right people gather, we can make it a wonderful one-world society.
We can turn this into
inevitable
Shangri-La instead of hell.
That's
it
right.
Could be heaven
Well,
instead
a few
of purgatory.
people who are going off their lust, power, greed, no thank you. I say the laws of nature, no. That's an excuse for doing harm and doing criminal activity. Actually, it's about compassion and empathy, one of the greatest qualities humanity has that's going to carry them to the next millennium and going to make us shine, make a difference in this world, and make us a worthy race of beings, a worthy species.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Because the problem with totalitarianism...
It'll take care of all life as stewards.
You can never make a
and
mistake.
value all life. Yeah.
We have to value all life. Because if we don't value all lives, then guess what? We don't value our life.
That's right. And if we're simply using those we're close to for power, for gain, for greed, as certain family members who sold out have done, in my situation, as part of this, I mean, big jobs by Disney and things like that, and even some politicians. The thing is, they lose who they are. They lose their sense of humanity. They lose what's the greatest spark, the greatest joy in their lives is gone. They'll know it's missing. They strip themselves of their best qualities. For what? Paper money? Some bills in a pocket? No. My son holds his head high, and my dead sons can hold their heads high because they're with me. I feel it.
Always.
And I'm doing this for them, too. So, yeah. I want them to be proud of their dad. And I want to do this right so all humanity benefits, and I get to team with some amazing people like yourself to make a difference. We can finally have a world where our sons can be safe and our daughters can be safe, and our elderly are valued and their dreams matter, and their stories have value also, and there's a library of them.
That's beautiful. That is the full circle. The babies, the mama and daddies, and the grandma and grandpas. Everyone taken care of.
That's the Immortals. That's the screenplay. That's what it was asking for.
You know, the next time I have you on, I really want to go into your early years. How did you develop the brain and the compassion and the attitude that you have today?
Perfect. I'd be wonderful. I'd love to do that. I'd love to share that.
Well,
cool.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
you. Pleasure.
And you will not be silent.
And thanks for making my son a bit safer.
Hey.
That's really what you just did too, and for also making a bridge where the whole world can come together. It's going to work. They're so afraid of this piece because look at this. If we make this immortal story the way it's written, right? Not to make money. Who even cares if we make money? Let's just make it and get the message out. If it's made the way it is and they try to put an injunction saying there's similarities, then they just proved we won. If we make it and they say they leave it alone, then people see 190 matchups and they just proved we won. To catch-22, they can't win now. They're done. That's why they're saying we've already won. So, game's over.
That's why the truth will set you free. Yes.
That's right. Always endure. Never give up, my son says. Never give up. And when you see his piece, you'll see that in there.
And it's going to be a part of this greater work. Thank you, Tom.
I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you. Honored.
And yeah, I'm gonna call you offline. I'm gonna call you off air.
All right. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you all for watching the show. Please live your life with integrity, without hate, envy, or greed. And as always, brothers and sisters, please, 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 let's try to be kinder to each other. Peace and power, unity and victory, dignity and respect, liberation. I'm out of here. Also, please join me on Patreon. Peace.